Hello, my name's David Diley. Welcome to the Scarlet View and another thrilling, exciting episode of blind colour matching clips from famous films and TV shows. See, nailed it. I think this is the fourth one of these. Fourth? Yeah, I think it's the fourth one. It's taking me to the fourth one to be able to get that out properly. If you haven't seen these before, basically what I do is I take a clip from a famous film or TV show, give myself 60 seconds or less to look at it, try and figure out what the look is, what main features of the look are, and figure out how they potentially built that look, and then try and match it with a clip I've downloaded without using the original clip as a reference to see how close I get. So this one is going to be a good one, and it's going to be very difficult. And it's going to be very difficult because what I normally do is pick the clip that I'm going to download to grade and then pick a film which is relatively close in production design, lighting, style, etc. Whereas this time, I picked the film first and then had to find a clip which was as close as I could possibly get to a scene in that film, which I've done this time, and we're kind of close, but it's never going to look as good as The Joker, which is the film that we're doing this week. If you've not seen it, it's probably the best film I've seen in the last 5, maybe 10 years. Beautifully shot, beautifully lit, beautifully coloured, incredibly acted. It's just a great story. It's just executed so brilliantly. It's absolutely amazing. If you've not seen it, find it and watch it. It's incredible. So we're doing The Joker today. So without further ado, let's dive straight in. I can't bring a Joker clip into Resolve because for some reason, having tried to encode it, it's just not coming out of MKV and in a format that I can possibly use in Resolve with any kind of quality. So we're going to go into VLC and watch the clip, and I'm not going to have the benefit of the scopes. So this is going to be a difficult one. So let's go in and have a look. And it's the scene where Arthur, he's just come out of doing his stand-up routine with the lady who I can't remember, and he's in the street, and I picked it because the lighting is kind of the same. Well, so the light quality is kind of not the quality, but the luminance, let's say, is about the same. So let's watch this clip through. The cyany kind of blues in there with highlights biased kind of towards the yellows. Quite elevated mids. It's kind of quite creamy looking, but still contrasty. Skin is very kind of orangey yellow. These reds are quite vibrant here. The blacks are nice and clean, but look, you can see in there that kind of cyany blue. There's some red tinting going on in the skin, which it looks nice. It's kind of earthy sort of tones to it. There you can see the red in the skin there. So it's kind of a yellow bias in the highlights, kind of orangey mids and maybe blue cyan low end. But like I say, quite creamy looking. And let's stop here. This is a more contrasty shot. Clean blacks, reds really vibrant, but with a bias towards a bit more magenta. There's a lot of yellow in The Joker as well, from what I remember. Last time I saw it was about a year ago. And these highlights in that kind of cyany type look. Lovely sort of yellow hazing over here. Love it. Absolutely amazing. That'll do. I think that was about a minute. This is going to be difficult. Right, so into the colour tab, and let me figure out what I'm doing here. This clip was filmed on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. It's in 6K anamorphic fat. As you know, this isn't a tutorial, but just to help you out a little bit, the aspect resolution of the clip, 6144 by 3456. Now, the aspect ratio. The aspect ratio is 355. This is the resolution. The resolution is here. The aspect ratio is 355. So what I did, if you're wondering, in Resolve, 6144 divided by 355 into the project settings, master settings. So I've changed it. The closest to that is about 1730 rounded off. Kept it at square pixel ratio. And then into the image scaling, we've got scale and entire image to fit, match the timeline settings, scale full frame with crop. There, take a look at that, and then into the clip attributes, CinemaScope, boom, big wide anamorphic. So that's how I did that. Okay, so let's start off. This is going to be the raw adjustments node. Usually I keep it blank, but any kind of raw, even though changes to the raw tab are global across nodes, I'm just going to keep that one as the raw adjustment tab, so do it all in there. Then we're going to do, as you've seen before, 3 nodes, serial, parallel, parallel for exposure, contrast, and saturation. Then after that, because we mentioned the Joker is yellow highs, orangey mids, cyan shadows, and some cyan in the mids as well, actually. Let's do the same thing, serial, parallel, parallel. And we're going to make some adjustments in here. To the high end, the mid-range, and the lows. This is going to have a probably devastating impact on the skin tone. So we'll do a skin tone node here. Skin there, outside there. Okay, there's going to be a lot of nodes in this. I can tell the node tree is going to be ridiculous. Ah, there's another thing. The clip is super noisy. So I don't normally do this, but we're going to do it today, or tonight, should I say. We're going to add another node in here. Get rid of them. This is going to be noise reduction, and I'm doing a noise reduction node, I guess, kind of first, because I want to be able to view this without all the noise in it, because that noise is going to really impact how the clip looks. So when I'm making my adjustments, I'm going to turn it off, because the noise reduction is just brutal on the computing and it's going to slow everything down. So I guess what we're going to do, I'll come back to the noise reduction. Let's go into the raw tab. We're going to use the clip, turn on highlight recovery, put the ISO up just a touch. We'll keep all this as shot for now, and then we'll probably come back into this. There's going to be a lot of skipping around through the nodes, I think. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do the contrast, because Joker is kind of contrasty, albeit with that kind of creamy look to it. So we're going to spread these out a little bit. So put some contrast in there for now. There, that we will probably adjust. And the highlights, Joker is pretty muted, for want of a better phrase. So we're going to bring those highlights down. I did notice that the highlights are super creamy in a lot of the shots, so there's not that kind of real like peaking specular highlights, so I'll have to do something with them, and I'll keep having to come back to those. We're going to balance that out with the mids a little bit. I think we can maybe stick some more contrast in there. We'll keep it there for now. Saturation, bump the saturation up a bit. We're going to try and get as close to kind of a balanced image as we can to start off with. 85 in the saturation, and the color boost, I'm just going to touch that up a little bit. Let's say 10. Okay, and then let's go into the raw adjustment. We're a bit warm for my liking here, so we're going to bring that down. Let's say about 3500. About there looks all right. And then in the tint, we're just going to just squeeze a bit of magenta in there, maybe take that down to 3200. Okay, I'm quite liking that. We're going to leave these here for now. Okay, so let's add some noise reduction now, get that over and done with. Noise reduction, I don't use Resolve Zone noise reduction because I think Neat Videos is miles better. 8. Just check this out. If you don't have if you don't have Neat Video, just watch this. Boom, noise gone. It's incredible. If you don't have Neat Video noise reduction software, go and get it right now. Okay, so there we can see the image better without it being kind of tainted with that coloured noise. So we're going to turn that off. Okay, now let's come into these nodes here and start messing around. That's the technical term. With them, we'll do it in the primaries and we'll push them highlights more towards yellow, and I'm using these street lamps here to measure that. Let's go a little bit more in the mids. What happens if we go more towards now? In the mids, I'm gonna just not do too much, but I'm gonna touch that up to the warm end of it, and in the low end, we're gonna go kind of into those cyans a bit. Let's try there. So here's where we started off with our, obviously, of course, that's with the raw adjustments. Those raw adjustments are still taking hold there. So that's that. And then we've gone to this. Okay, so we're getting more into that color palette. It's going to be the skin next. We'll do this with a selection. Let me look at that noise, it's crazy. Denoise it first of all, the skin. Let's try and push it down to here. And then in the low end, we're gonna we do still want some in the lows. Skin's not overly saturated, so let's go with that for now. And in the high end, let's make sure we can add some contrast there. Soften it out a bit. Blur it out a little bit. And let's go in and let's take a look at her and let's play with this skin tone. She looks very sad. I think she knows that you haven't subscribed to the channel. I think that's what it is. And I don't blame her for being sad about that. So hit the subscribe button now. That would be cool. Right, okay, so warm her up in the reds a little bit. In those highlights, let's add some. No, let's add a tiny bit of yellow in. Noise reduction on. Let's take a look. She's too saturated, so let's just dial that saturation down a little bit. Say 35. Noise reduction on. Let's check it. I'd say that's pretty close. That's quite close. Skin node off and the skin node on. Yeah, we've got those kind of reds into the skin. Yeah, that's not too bad. I might have to come back and adjust that a little bit later. You're viewing this via OBS, by the way, off an sRGB monitor. My primary monitoring that I'm doing here is on an Adobe RGB monitor. So you're not necessarily seeing, well, I mean, you're seeing what I'm seeing on the sRGB monitor, but my main monitoring is going on the Adobe RGB monitor, just so you know. Outside node of the skin. Let's drag some cyan in to those mids. Turn the noise reduction on. Don't like that. Let's just dial that down a little bit. Put it in the shadows on the outside. Noise reduction on. Check it. we look better without that. We're going to leave the outside node for now. In fact, maybe on the outside node. No. What I'm going to do, you've seen me do this before. Serial layer, serial. No, that's not what we're going to do. Let's get rid of that. And get rid of that. I'll come on to this. Serial layer, serial. We are going to, let me think the best way to do. I know how to do this. I know the best way of doing this. Right, so this is going to be my black and white node. And this is going to be my cyan wash node. But wait and see what I'm planning. It could look really bad, but I think it's actually going to look quite good. So in here into the cyan, let's, in the offset, let's push that into the cyan. We're going to overdo it and then probably have to dial it back. Now the composite mode, ordinarily I'd go down to soft light. That looks really poo. But what we're going to do is we're going to go color dodge. And there you have that. So it does a lot to the exposure of these specular highlights. We will come to that and adjust that later. Losing a bit of yellow in the highlights, so we're going to need to go back and do something about that. I think actually with this, maybe we'll dial that down a bit. There we go. That's a bit better. Let's move another new node in. Let's go back and deal with them highlights in the log. And let's get the high range. Because we don't want any haloing in there. I don't know if you can see that, but I can see we've got a little bit of haloing in. So with those highs off and on, off and on. Okay, so this is us where we started with the raw adjustments. This is where we are now. Okay, so let's take that noise reduction off. We're definitely getting closer to the overall look. We're definitely getting close to the overall look. One thing I love about the Joker's looks when they're outside is they've got this real kind of neon type look to it, and it's so colourful. The colour contrast is so good. I mean, we don't have that in this shot, so we can't match it. But the whole point of this is for you to try and understand the thought process that goes into it. And try and get that thought process that, like, okay, how can I get at least the tonal range close, and the thought that goes into it. And then this is really super convoluted. I mean, look at this. This is ridiculous. But you kind of watching that thought process to help. Maybe you can figure out what each thing is doing and how you can approach your own grading in not necessarily the same way, but using elements of the way that I'm approaching it to come up with your own way of doing things, your own looks even. That's the ideal thing. You don't want to just match what everybody else is doing. You want to be able to figure out how to use Resolve to get you to make the looks that you want. And that's why I hope these are useful for you. Let's do some face refinement. Drag that on, and we are going to Beauty Advanced, and we're going to analyze it. So this is going to take a little while. I'm going to hit fast forward and we'll zip through this in no time at all. Okay, so that's the face refinement done. Let's get back to a good frame. Nice and shut. There we go. Perfect. Let's check with the noise reduction on again. Okay, we are getting closer. There's quite a bit of colour noise in there. Right, okay, so that's off now. So let's look and see what we want to do in here. Smoothing threshold. The skin is quite smooth, if I remember right, in the Joker. That's ridiculous. dial it down a bit. Let's not go too crazy. The diffusion of the lighting, it does cast sort of, I wouldn't say harsh, but contrast. That's very subtle. Very, very subtle. We're not going to add any texture in the contrast. We are going to push the contrast up a bit. Maybe to the mid-tone. The skin is quite dark. Whoa, why are we getting all that in there? We're not going to do that. Let's dial the contrast down and see what happens. No, it's still coming in. I think it's picking that noise up. Colour boost, we're going to leave that. Tint, we're going to leave that. Desaturate the shadow. Maybe. Maybe just a tiny bit. We want some more shine on this. So that's where we are with the skin tone. Right, well, we're going to go back into the skin and we're going to bring the mids down. That's not really doing a huge amount. I don't want to mess. I really don't want to mess. That's because I'm using a log. Foolish. Right, let's try again. Certainly not that much. Maybe there. I mean, we've kind of created this sort of harder look for her. We've come too far with the mids down on this. I think we're going to have to leave the skin where we are. Maybe if you bring the shadows down a bit. Highlights down, try that. Or maybe just like really subtle. Right, okay, so this was, what was this? This was the face refinement. On, off. Yeah, we've just created a little bit of contrast in there. Skin refine. Okay, so what's next? The eyes. We're not getting as much blue in the whites of her eyes as I thought we were. So let's get a look at them eyes. Let's open the skin refinement again and let's just I don't want to brighten them too much, maybe just bring them out a little bit, because he's a dark character. He's sort of shrouded in this darkness. Is Arthur Fleck, the Joker. So we're not going to have, he's not going to have these bright eyes full of life. I think we're gonna keep it there. It's probably a little bit much, but we'll keep it there. Maybe with the eyes, if we bring them down a little bit. Yeah, I think that could work. I'm not going to do anything with eye bags. Right, we don't want to mess with that too much. So that's the skin. We're going to add a film stock. One of these days I'm going to do one of these that doesn't have a film stock on it, but it works for me. I like it. I'm going to work within the Vericam, the V gamut, because I like it. Okay, so it's going to be one of these. Let's try that one first and dial it down to 50. And then let's try that one. think exposure wise we've got a little bit much in the shadows. Let's bring them shadows down a little bit. Actually no, let's bring the mid down a little bit. Although saying that, it is kind of a creamy. Let's try the contrast. Turn the noise reduction on. No, I think we do need to lift the mids a bit. And I think maybe in this cyan wash we can back that down to 6.5. No. Let's try it back at 1 again. No, that's too much. 0.8. No, I think we were probably right where we were. Okay, so the film here. And I think the next thing we need to do is probably, let's gamut map it. Well, we're about to hit the half-an-hour mark. Right. Where is it? Where are you? Gamut map in there. We'll keep it at Rec 709. I just want them to be a little bit creamier, those specular highlights. Right, so take a look at these guys here. So that's with the gamut map on, that's with the gamut map off. It just flattens it down a little bit, it gives it a bit more of a filmic look, I think. It's a bit creamier in those highlights. So the maximum input luminance, keep that about there. And then with the gamut, so the average input luminance, I'm doing this by eye. We'll go about there, I think. We'll bring it down a bit there, I think. Okay, in here, let's come in here and have a play with these a little bit in the red, green and blue output. Oh, what is this? How strange. Okay, we'll bring that down a little bit, and with the blue, what is that? Ah, I see what it is. You just see that? I've never seen that before. Go into an earring here and look, it's that. It's probably saying that we're clipping. If you look at our reds as well, then we are drifting into that magenta hue, which is kind of what we wanted, because that does match the Joker's look. So we're going to bring the red output down a little bit. Okay, now we're going to look at it with noise reduction on and off. On. and off. Full screen, that's where we were. This is where we are. We're looking quite good, I think. Right, final thing is going to be for the original build anyway. It's going to be, we're going to do a high-low desat. High-low desat. Maybe we don't do the high, maybe we just do the low. Get them clean blacks in. Not really doing it. Get off. Right, let's try again. Clean them blacks up. But maybe not too much in the high end. Maybe just dip it a little bit. Okay. That's full screen, so that's where we are now. That's where we were to begin with. I think we do need to bring the shadows down a bit. We're touching the bottom. Where are we? Let's have a look. We're kind of just above. I think that's probably. Let's come up here into this corner. Blacks, denoise it. I think we're about right there. Okay, now one last look at this here. Let's see, what can we do? This high range here. No. That's where we were. Okay, so in the highs. Getting too much of that in the mids. Maybe take some of that warmth out of it. Right, we're in the territory again of fiddling too much. So that's the noise reduction off. That's looking pretty nice, I think. Do you know what? If I was grading for a client and they wanted kind of a cool cinematic look for a film or a short, I would be really happy with that. Let's turn the noise reduction off. On. Off. On, off, on, okay, right, I think we're at 30 something minutes now. I think we're gonna say that is the look that we are going for. So I'm going to export this and then we're going to take a look in how am I going to do this, because I can't put them both into Premiere because the Joker won't go into Premiere. I'm going to figure out how to do this and then we're going to take a look at them kind of semi side by side, I guess. Right, okay, Let's do that. So what I'm going to do here is, because I can't drag them side by side into Premiere, we're going to watch the clip through from the Joker in VLC, and then we're going to go and look at the clip that we've done in Resolve, which took an age to export, even on the system I've got here, because it was such a heavy grade. We'll watch the Joker clip, then we'll watch our clip, and then I'll come back into Joker and pick out various things, and then we'll try and switch between the two if possible. I don't think, in terms of the look, I don't think I've got that close, but in terms of the tonality of it, I think we've done a decent job, considering there was no reference and the lighting's completely different. So let's watch through with the Joker. Same clip. So here we are. So earthier tones, I think. I'm just going to pause it there as well. If you look at these highlights, like I said about them being quite creamy, they're not clipped. They are quite creamy. So earthier tones. Love the lighting on here on the kiosk. The colour contrast is great. The skin tone, they're darker, and there's a lot less contrast than we've got as well. I actually envisaged it being a bit more contrasty, but it's not. It's actually quite soft. There is a yellow bias to it mixed with that cyan, but very, very earthy in these kind of shots. It's just such a great looking film. It just, you can't fault it. It's fantastic. Our skin tone's pretty close there. We're a lot higher exposed than our skin, and that's obviously a lot to do with the lighting. But I think it's difficult to find a spot where we're kind of, we've got something similar to look at, if that makes sense. So that's the Joker. Now let's look at ours. I've got it playing on a loop. We're kind of, in terms of as a look, we're a lot, I don't want to say cleaner, but we're cooler, that's for sure. Joker's warmer than I thought it was on that first look, not being able to go back and have a reference on it. Our skin tone's quite nice, I think. It does need to come down exposure wise. The yellows are looking pretty good. Our highlights, they've got that nice kind of creamy edge to it. I think if I pause it there and we go back to VLC, now I know which shot I want to stop on. Well, we've got some kind of, let's just have a look there. Let's have a look at the kiosk in terms of it's kind of a brighter lit part of the shot. It's warmer. I cooled it down too much. And we're not as earthy as well. In terms of exposure on the face, etc., let's have a look. I think it's this one when he bares his teeth. Great shot. Okay, so we've got that. Yeah, we're more contrasty. We're brighter in our mids. So to be honest, I don't think I've got very close really. However, I mean, look at these blues here. I think as far as kind of getting a look, I think the look that we've got, I think it's good. I like that. I like it a lot. I really, really like it. We've by no means matched the Joker, but tonally, I mean, if we look at other parts of the film, let's just pick some random spots in the film and see. That's a bad choice. Let's just go through and skip through. See what we can find. Again, very kind of lots of yellows in terms of their exposure. That's kind of a brighter shot. Let's have a look here. These lights are in there. It's not a great example to kind of pick from. This might be this scene where he's dancing, maybe. Could be a good one. Hard to tell with skin tone because he's got the clown makeup on. Great scene as well. Looking at that. if we were shooting it to match, then you'd be kind of flagging all this stuff off over this side here, put a lot more kind of shadow on her face. Kind of going through, see if we can find some matching tonality there. Very warm, very kind of sulphur street lights. What we like there? Yeah, I've gone too contrasty in the high end. Definitely gone too contrasty in the high end. But if you've never seen the Joker, or even if you have seen it and you just want kind of an exercise in filmmaking, it just looks incredible. Everything about it is so brilliant. It's one of the best films I've ever seen, definitely. We don't have the benefit of this kind of level of colour contrast in this shot that we've chosen. Nothing we can do about that, and it's certainly not a criticism of the shot, because it's a really nice shot. But I think overall with the look, we've not really got hugely close, but the tonality of it is kind of in the ballpark. But as a look, if I was tasked by a client to get a kind of cinematic, stylized look for a piece, whether it be a music video or a short film or a film, then I would be really, really happy with this. I love this. I think it looks great. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you're enjoying these as well. Obviously, it's kind of a niche sort of market. I know they've not been getting huge amounts of views, but that's okay. As long as you're getting an idea of the kind of process I go through, and maybe it's sort of inspiring you to kind of look at ways of doing things, then great, that's what I want. So I hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment below, and I will be back again soon with another one of these. Oh, before I go, if you have any footage that you want to send to me with a suggestion of the film to match, or the TV show, or the music video, then please, please, please feel free to do so. Just make sure it's nice in focus, well lit, like, you know, it's a decent clip. I would love to grade some of your footage to your requests to how to match it to something. So yeah, take care, and I'll see you again soon.